Over the years, Miriam Krantz sent her insurance thousands of dollars, hoping should there ever be a storm, she would be covered. But as you can see up here, look at her roof. Still, there's a tarp over it. All the way from that down to her shower that's still damaged. A year later, she's still waiting on repairs.
There's an add-on back section, and the entire roof from that back section was lifted off. That's about 200 square feet worth.
Each year for nearly 10 years, Miriam Krantz pulled out her checkbook and paid a premium to her insurance company to protect her house in East Nashville. And while neighbors are well on their way to repairing the damage left behind from the March 3rd tornado outbreak. Do you have any timeline for when repairs might start?
No.
More than a year later, Krantz's house has barely been touched. Krantz says getting approval from her insurance to hire a general contractor has been difficult.
Navigating between different contractors and what the insurance will do, and then, when you get a general contractor, they're not actually doing the stuff themselves. The whole time I have to make calls. It's hundreds of hours.
She and her roommate Quincy Ellison are still living in temporary housing.
We said about 8 months ago that it would be, maybe they'll start in 2 months. But that 2 months hits, and then we're like, okay, maybe another 2 months.
Turns out they're not alone. A record search with the Tennessee Department of Commerce and Insurance reveals at least 41 people filed complaints against their insurance companies for not covering repairs since the 2020 storm. Also in that time frame, more than $10 million were returned to Tennessee residents, who the department found were unlawfully denied claims. Meanwhile, Darkenia Waller with the Legal Aid Society says her agency helps people who didn't realize they weren't fully covered.
We still see people who haven't, and usually in those circumstances, they are people who are underinsured. Now, that's not to say that if you didn't seek out an attorney who could advocate on your behalf, that you might not be able to find some resolution, but oftentimes it is where the particular disaster was not covered by their insurance.
Her advice? Be very careful when shopping for an insurance provider.
A lot of people will just say, oh yeah, I'll take the insurance, but don't actually take the time to read it, to see what's in it. And you want to look for those natural disasters being covered and specifically say flood, tornado, or whatever the issue may be.
And trying to save money might actually end up costing you more in the long run.
The old adage, you get what you pay for, and sometimes you do want to just make that extra effort to ensure you are covered. You may never need it, and God willing you won't, but if you do, you want to make sure that you have gone ahead and made the investment so that you don't find yourself a year later trying to get repairs done on your home.
So what can you do if you find yourself in a situation similar to Krantz, struggling to get repairs from your policy? Waller suggests getting legal help from her office or getting an attorney recommended by the Nashville Bar Association. They'll also be able to tell you what your policy should pay for and can advocate on your behalf. Krantz says she plans to take that step and find an attorney. But at the end of the day, she says she doesn't feel like she got what she paid for.
It almost seems like they're trying to not tell us certain things, what they're required to do, what our rights are, what they're not required to do. They're very unclear. It takes a long time to communicate, and it's confusing.
Nikki McGee, News 2.